I'm not exactly sure what I want to call this video yet, because I think that there's so many title ideas that I've come up for, but I'll probably just, end up choosing one. But I'm really just starting to understand the fact that the love of other people can never fill the hole that's inside your own heart. And that I think so often, so many people, including myself at times, we try to find love in other people when the whole time it's something that we need to give to ourselves. Because, I think so often it's almost like we're trying to fix an internal problem by looking for the external. When the whole time the only thing that can fix an internal problem is the internal. And I know it's a bit cliche to say that, you need to give yourself the love that you hope to find from other people. But I think it's so true, because I think almost as long as we rely on other people, then we'll never truly be able to be our own independent selves. We'll never be able to be free and to experience the freedom of loving ourselves without the necessity of other people. And, that's not to say that we shouldn't have anyone else in our lives, but it's just to say I think it's important that before we look for love outside of ourselves, we find it inside of ourselves. Because, I don't know, there's been so many scenarios in my life where I was kind of looking for something outside of myself. I was looking for, love from other places. And, oftentimes it didn't work out. But from those experiences, I just learned that it's not something that you could find from other people. At least not in the way that you're looking for it. Because it's almost like you're relying on other people. You need other people. And I don't think that love is necessity. I don't think it's requiring someone else in order for you to live your life, in order for you to be happy. I think that love is being happy and then deciding that you want someone else to be a part of that happiness. Because, it's easy to drink water when you're thirsty, but it's impossible, or it's very difficult to drink water when you're already satisfied. And in that same way, I think it's easy to think that you're in love with someone, that you love someone, when you lack love. But then I think true love is understanding that it's not about what you do when, you're by yourself. It's what you do when you're with other people. And, I don't know. Because I think so often we just try to find, the people around us that will give us the love that we need to give ourselves. Almost allowing ourselves to be comfortable by ourselves. And in that way, we then allow ourselves to love other people appropriately. And I think so often people get, really discouraged, even after they've already given love to themselves, at least to an extent. They get really discouraged from trying to find love in other people, especially just with all the things that are going on in today's world. I don't think, at least for me personally, I don't think it's possible for me to get discouraged from trying to find it. But I think part of it is that I've kind of recognized that it's not something that I need in my life. It's something that I want, maybe, but it's not something that's, required for me to exist. And I just think it's important that you almost recognize that, I don't think it's love if it's required, if it's something that's necessary. I think it's love when it's something that you want to add to your life, when it's something that you want to experience for yourself. I don't know. Because I also think so often we almost try to convince ourselves that if someone doesn't necessarily feel the same way that we do for them, then they're a bad person and they're not seeing it, in the correct way. At least I know I've tried to convince myself of that. But it's almost about recognizing that, You know, the same way you know what's best for you, other people know what's best for them, at least to their own, amount of knowledge. And that we're all free to make our own choices when it comes to everything in our lives, you know? So if God doesn't force you to follow him, then kind of what gives you the right to try to force someone to follow you? I think that love is a choice. It's not something that's ever required, but it's something that you hope that someone will make the choice for. But in the same way that you hope that someone will make that choice for you, is the way that you almost need to be okay if they don't make that choice for you. Because if we're constantly allowing ourselves to be emotionally controlled by the things outside of us, we'll ultimately always be controlled by the things outside of us. If that makes sense. I think, I'm not sure. There's just a lot, you know? I think in our day-to-day lives, there's just so many things that we experience, there's so many things that we go through, that we almost tend to forget to give ourselves the love that we want to experience. But I also think to an extent we take for granted the amount of love that's already around us. Because I think that all around us, in every scenario that we find ourselves in, there is love there. There always will be love present. It's almost just allowing yourself to see it. You know, in the same way that you could look around your room and find a color that maybe you didn't think was there. If you really look for it, that's the same way that you could find love around you, you know? It could be really small things, you know? And when I say love in this scenario, at least, I don't necessarily mean in a romantic way. But I just mean that, you know, the love of your friends, the love of your family, the love of the random stranger walking down the street, you know? The love of, I don't know, the director of a movie you like, the chef who cooked the food that you eat, you know? I think that all those activities, they all include a little bit of love in them. Because I think that love is ultimately what's created us. And love is ultimately what runs the world to an extent. But, I don't know. I think that there's so many things that go along with this topic. I'm not really sure, you know? Because it could just be a very vulnerable thing to talk about sometimes. But I just think it's important that we recognize how much other people truly do love us, how much other people truly do value and appreciate us, just for who we are, just for where we are right now. And in that same breath, it's about recognizing that, like I said earlier, love shouldn't be something that's necessary. You shouldn't need love from someone else, because I don't think that's love. Because I think that love is making the decision. It's about making the choice. In the same way that, like I said, God doesn't force us to follow him. And that's love. Love is allowing that person to make a choice, to decide for themselves whether, you know, they want to be around you or not. And I think that love back is almost allowing that person to make that choice. And, you know, that's not to say be like emotionally dissonant and not really reacting to that. We're not really, or kind of being disconnected. You know, you're allowed to feel how you feel. But it's just about recognizing that we all have the choice to make. We all have the life to experience, the life to live, and the love to give. So, you know, it's kind of, not really sure. It's a beautiful thing. I think it's I think it's something that we'll all find one day through one way or another. It's almost just about having the patience and recognizing that maybe the reason why you don't have it right now is because you're not in a position where it's no longer something that's necessary. Because the people that need something the most have it the least. So maybe it's about getting to a point where it's no longer something that you're reliant on, no longer something that's absolutely necessary for your own life. And in getting to that point, it's just about, existing in that peace. And then it'll kind of just find you, I guess. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this video. I don't know. I think compared to my other videos, my thoughts were a bit more all over the place for this one. But maybe that's what makes it good. That's what makes it authentic to an extent. Because I guess when it comes to this topic, I just have a lot of thoughts at the same time. I have a lot of experiences. So, not really sure. The Bible verse I have for this video is taken from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 to 7. And it says, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered, and it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always preserves." So, I hope you took something from this video. And, yeah, thank you for watching.